Disney's shift from middle class to millionaires. Disney once marketed itself as everybody is a VIP. Today, it looks more like everybody with a platinum card. According to the New York Times, families like Scarlett Kressels, someone who's earning around $80,000 a year, her combined family income, close to the U.S. median, they now struggle to afford the trip. Kressel and her daughter already spent more than $2,300 on tickets, plus another $160 for skip the line access to just 3 rides. Her week in Orlando for 2 adults and 3 kids cost about $8,000, roughly 15% of their annual take-home pay. That's a hugely significant amount of money of your overall take-home pay to spend on one vacation in one place. Meanwhile, Disney's luxury offerings have soared. A renovated suite at the Polynesian Resort costs $3,900 a night. Champagne and small bites with fireworks view run $230 per person. A wine-paired dinner for 2 at Victoria and Albert starts at $1,500. Consultant Daniel Curl argues this reflects a bigger shift. Companies across industries now focus on the affluent. Oh boy, do they. As analyst Len Tessa put it, Disney positions itself as the all-American vacation. The irony is that most Americans can't afford it. Okay, what's the real message here? Yeah, it's Disney World, but it's every world. The world is increasingly saying, if you're not the top 5, 10% in income, we don't want your business. Don't come here. The average American family of an income of $80,000 going to Disney is committing an act of fiscal suicide. It's too expensive for most people, and that is a shame. So let's dig a little deeper here. As some of you may know, I started a family kind of late in life. I had my daughter when I was at age 50. So by the time I took her to Disney World and my family to Disney World at 55, I was in a lot better shape financially than if I had had kids when most people have kids in their 20s and 30s. I wouldn't have been able to afford going to Disney with the income I had, certainly at age 25 or 35 for that matter. So it does create a sense of uneasiness. And yes, I did buy various fast passes to get through some of the lines, but I realized there's so many different layers of insiderness at a place like Disney. I have friends now say, oh yeah, I just get the guide for $5,000 a day. They take you around, you never wait anywhere. So there's a part of me that says, wow, that's great. That's wonderful. There's a part of me that says $5,000. I mean, that's an incredible amount of money, I think, for anyone who isn't, maybe you don't have to be a billionaire to drop 5G, but that's a lot of money, a lot of money. Again, let's look at some of the facts here. $3,900 to stay at some of the Disney hotels, $1,500 for dinner at some of their restaurants. But just the actual getting into the park has gone up. And then the real problem, to me, the biggest problem, the thing that sort of sticks in the craw, I think, of what a middle-class person would be experiencing, or certainly a lower middle-class person, is that all day long, if you haven't really shelled out the big bucks, you spent all day long waiting. You're waiting. In this article profile in the New York Times, they talk about the profile 2 different families. And one of them is waiting an hour and a half for lunch, and the other is like 5-minute wait. They didn't mind spending the extra $7,000 for all the fast passes and all the VIP tickets. It's one thing for Disney to do this. What I've noticed that I find troubling is even going to a little county fair, and in my situation, the South Florida State Fair, there's still this goal of every organization, how can we get the most money? Well, fine, capitalism, I'm a capitalist. But even in a place like a county fair, they're now selling these fast pass bracelets so that you can cut in front of the line. And it just does feel a little awkward knowing, okay, in this case, county fair, maybe it's only an extra $28 to then walk right up in front of the other people, them looking at you enviously. It's a weird feeling, and it's an odd feeling. And I'm not going to tell you, oh, I'm so noble. I'm going to wait with the people. I don't like waiting either. And fortunately, I'm in a position where I can pay for these fast passes when I go to amusement parks. And so I do like to partake in that. But I do think there is some social theorists who say this is kind of what's driving all of these revolts and elections, whether it's Brexit, whether it's Americans embracing MAGA. They're just so angry and put upon for always feeling like second class citizens. Because if you're not in the top 10 or 20% of income in America, there are just 1,001 ways you're reminded daily that most businesses don't want you and you're not a priority and you're not important to them. And you're lucky for them to even let you give them your money. And it comes across, frankly, as condescending. There's, on the one hand, the United States is doing well economically. More people have jobs than ever before. Unemployment is extremely low. When you look at how our economy has grown since the Great Recession in 2008 versus Europe, we've done much better. The issue is the people in the top 1% and certainly the top 20% have done so much better than the bottom 80%. Many businesses like Disney have made a rational, calculating decision. Let's go all in on these top 20%. And really, if we can focus on the top 1%, that's the creamy stuff. That's where you make the most money. And data, AI, the internet makes it easier and easier to market just to those people. And if you're not one of those people, you're kind of left behind. And that rightfully is causing resentment. So, what's my message to you as an individual, as someone who's trying to learn from the news and get better? One is you may be able to start some business that does market to the middle class. It's not gone. It's not extinct. As the stats show, the median income in America is about $80,000 per family. So that's not rich by any stretch. Certainly in expensive metropolitan areas like San Francisco, where I am today, or New York City, that's struggling. But in many parts of America, that's a middle class income. And they do spend their money. And there are ways of making money. The other thing to realize, though, is the childhood you grew up in, where everyone went to Disney or everyone went to the local swim club and everyone did this. That is disappearing. Our whole sense of common culture is disappearing. And on the one hand, it's great that not everyone watches Fathers Knows Best and we're trapped in a monoculture. But on the other hand, it can be very alienating to people, alienating to society. And that is why I think we're seeing these populists rise, not just here in the United States, but populism is on the rise in South America, in European democracies, and elsewhere, because people are upset. People are angry. And there's no simple solution, because when you look at what the populists actually do once they get into office, most of the times they, if it's in the far right, they just say, okay, now that I'm in, forget all that populist stuff. I'm just going to cut taxes on the rich. Or if it is a South American or Central American socialist populace, they end up destroying the economy, then everybody's poor. Okay, now we don't have inequality anymore. Everyone's the same, but everyone's really poor, and our economies is in a shambles, and we're starving, and we're fleeing the border to go to Brazil or someplace. So that's not an answer either. So there's no easy answer as far as just voting for a populist who voices your anger and your discontent. It unfortunately takes voting, in my view, for centrist, progressive, liberal politicians in your country who actually are trying to make government work to help create a freer economy. Unfortunately, people who are to the center and the center left in democracies around the world are struggling. They're having a hard time. We do have a center party here in the United States. Arguably, you can make the case that the Democrats in the United States are a center-right party if you looked at how they'd be judged in Europe, but they are derided, mocked, ridiculed as being a far-left party and a socialist party because of great marketing by the opposition party in this country. So it's a tough situation for people who are angry about being left out, who feel like, well, I went to Disney as a kid. Now I can't afford to take my kid to Disney. I thought I was going to do better than my parents, some are saying. And now they feel like they can't even keep up. That causes resentment. I know I would be resenting it if I couldn't afford to take my daughter to, I've been fortunate enough to take her to Disney World and Universal and SeaWorld and all of these amusement parks. But even though, things are pretty comfortable and I'm doing well, I still feel a sticker shock. I'm like, I can't believe I just spent this many thousands of dollars to spend a lot of time in line and going on 5 rides in a whole day. So at some point, do people say enough is enough? I don't know. But it is yet a reminder that we live in a media saturated world, and we live in a world where we're all bombarded with ads and marketing. You got to go to Disney. You got to go to Disney. You got to go to Disney, and Disney icons everywhere, Mickey Mouse t-shirts and Disney channels. You're not a bad parent if you don't take your kid to Disney. You really aren't. It's nice. I'm glad I did, but you're not a bad parent. There's so many things you can do that cost nothing. Go for a hike, go for a walk, go biking, spend time outdoors, play a sport, kid. Those are the memory. I have so many more pleasurable memories with my family and my daughter doing things than just going to an amusement park. Although I do have a soft spot in my heart for amusement parks. I won't kid you. My very first job was working at a Disney-esque amusement park. So I do like them, but there's certainly a lot more to life than that.